The novel opens in the bleak marshes of Kent, where Pip, a young orphan, visits the graves of his parents. Suddenly, he is confronted by Magwitch, an escaped convict, who threatens him into bringing food and a file to free himself from chains. Terrified yet compassionate, Pip obeys. This single act of kindness will later shape his entire life. Pip lives with his harsh sister, Mrs. Joe, and her gentle, loving husband Joe Gargery, a blacksmith. Joe becomes Pip's only source of warmth and comfort. When soldiers recapture Magwitch, he protects Pip by claiming he stole the food himself. Pip feels deep guilt, believing he has committed a terrible sin. Pip is later invited to visit Miss Havisham, a wealthy, eccentric old woman who stopped all her clocks after being abandoned on her wedding day. Her house, Saddest House, is frozen in time, dark, dusty, and filled with decay. There Pip meets Estella, Miss Havisham's beautiful but cold ward. Estella mocks Pip's coarse hands, rough boots, simple manners. Pip becomes painfully aware of his social status and begins to feel ashamed of his humble origins. He dreams of becoming a gentleman worthy of Estella, a dream that slowly overtakes him. After this visit, Pip becomes dissatisfied with his life. Joe arranges for Pip to become his apprentice as a blacksmith. Instead of feeling grateful, Pip feels trapped. He constantly thinks of Estella and of rising above his common life. During this period, he also befriends Biddy, a wise and caring girl who genuinely likes him. Herbert Pocket, the cheerful boy Pip once fought at Saddest House. Though Pip's life is stable and filled with kind people, he remains restless and unhappy. One day, the lawyer Jaggers arrives with extraordinary news. Pip has been gifted a large fortune by an anonymous benefactor. The condition? He must move to London and become a gentleman. Pip instantly assumes Miss Havisham is behind this and that she intends him to marry Estella. This assumption fuels his ambitions and shapes the next stage of his life. He moves to London, leaves Joe behind, and begins his new life. In London, Pip lives extravagantly, trying to fit into upper-class society. He spends money carelessly, becomes proud, distances himself from Joe and Biddy, believes Estella is meant for him. But he finds London chaotic, confusing, and morally empty. His expectations bring him no real happiness. He is surrounded by Herbert, who becomes a loyal friend. Wemmick, Jaggers's clerk with two contrasting personalities. The cruel Bentley Drummle, who also pursues Estella. Pip's inflated self-image begins to crack when he realizes that wealth does not automatically earn respect or fulfillment. In a dramatic twist, Magwitch, the convict Pip helped as a child, returns secretly to London. He reveals the truth. Backhand index pointing right, he, not Miss Havisham, is Pip's benefactor. He became wealthy in Australia and dedicated his fortune to turning Pip into a gentleman as repayment for his childhood kindness. Pip is horrified, ashamed, and confused. He feels betrayed by his own assumptions. This moment marks a major emotional turning point. Pip confronts the truth about the source of his wealth, his prejudice against the poor, his unrealistic fantasies about Estella. Gradually, Pip begins to see Magwitch's humanity and sacrifices. Because Magwitch is wanted by the law, Pip and Herbert devise a plan to secretly smuggle him out of England. Pip risks everything for the man he once feared. However, the plan fails. Magwitch is caught after a dramatic chase and gravely injured while trying to escape. Before dying in prison, Magwitch learns that Pip has forgiven him. Pip loves him sincerely. Estella is alive and safe. Pip holds his hand as he dies. This emotional scene symbolizes Pip's full moral transformation. Miss Havisham realizes too late that she has destroyed both Estella's ability to love and Pip's emotional stability. In a moment of remorse, she begs Pip for forgiveness. Shortly afterward, she accidentally sets her wedding dress on fire. Pip saves her, but she later dies from her burns. Her death symbolizes the collapse of her world of bitterness and revenge. After losing his fortune, Pip falls ill and is nursed back to health by Joe. He finally understands Joe's unconditional love and regrets ever looking down on him. He returns home, apologizes to Joe and Biddy, asks for forgiveness, finds inner peace. Joe marries Biddy, and they start a happy family. Years later, Pip meets Estella again. Both have been humbled by life. In the revised ending, they walk away together, hand in hand, suggesting some emotional reconciliation, though not necessarily a romantic union. Great Expectations is not just a story about wealth and ambition, it is a story about identity, guilt, growth, love, forgiveness. Pip's journey teaches that true greatness lies in humility, love, and moral courage, not in social status or wealth.
Main themes of Great Expectations, detailed. 1. Social class and ambition. Victorian England was rigidly divided into classes, upper, middle and working class, and Dickens uses Pip's life to expose the illusions and dangers of this system. Pip's shame and desire for status. From the moment Pip meets Estella, he becomes painfully aware of his common background. She mocks his coarse hands, his accent, and his manners. This sparks deep shame within Pip and a burning desire to improve himself. Becoming a gentleman, illusion versus reality. When Pip receives money from a secret benefactor, he assumes that wealth automatically means superiority. He begins to distance himself from Joe, imitate upper-class habits, look down on his past life. But Dickens shows that gentlemanliness is not a matter of money or clothes. It is a matter of moral character. True gentility. Joe, a poor blacksmith, is far more noble and gentle than many wealthy characters. Herbert, though financially struggling, displays kindness and honesty. Through these characters, Dickens demonstrates that true worth comes from integrity, loyalty, and compassion, not social rank. The lesson, ambition driven by shame and class obsession leads to inner emptiness. 2. Innocence, guilt and moral growth. Great Expectations is a moral journey, the story of how a child learns guilt, maturity, and self-understanding. Childhood innocence. Young Pip's guilt begins early. Helping Magwitch terrifies him, and Mrs. Joe's harshness makes him feel responsible for everything wrong. Dickens uses this to show how guilt can shape a child's personality. Pip's growing shame. As Pip grows, guilt becomes tied to his ambition. He feels ashamed of his simple home, Joe's lack of education, his own low status. This guilt pushes him into selfish decisions, such as ignoring Joe in London. The turning point. Learning that Magwitch, not Miss Havisham, is his benefactor forces Pip to confront his own prejudice. At this moment, his illusions collapse. He realizes his mistakes. He begins to mature. Redemption through forgiveness. Pip redeems himself by caring for Magwitch, helping him escape, and returning to Joe and Biddy with humility. Dickens shows that forgiveness and humility are the path to moral growth. 3. Love and rejection. Love in the novel is powerful, but often painful, incomplete, or one-sided. Estella, beauty without warmth. Raised by Miss Havisham to break men's hearts, Estella becomes emotionally detached. She warns Pip that she cannot love him, yet Pip's infatuation deepens. Pip's blind devotion. Despite her coldness, Pip idealizes her. He dreams of winning her. He misinterprets Miss Havisham's intentions. He sacrifices his identity for her. His unreturned love illustrates how emotion can blind a person to reality. Miss Havisham's bitter love. Her own heartbreak turns into obsession. She uses Estella as a weapon against men, and later regrets the emotional harm she caused.